In this video, we are going to learn what is absolute value. Absolute value of a number is its distance from zero on the number line. So the symbol for absolute value are two vertical bars. So how do we find absolute value? Using a number line, we can go ahead and find the absolute value of the examples on the screen. So let's go ahead and let's practice finding the absolute value of these examples. First, we need to label. We need to label our number line. We start at the origin, which is 0, and towards the right we have our positive numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And on the left side of the number line, we will have our negative numbers. -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Using the number line is a great method to help us find the absolute value of these examples. So let's start with the first example, example number 1. And what is the absolute value of -6? In other words, what is this distance away from 0? The distance of -6 away from 0, let's see, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So after locating -6 on the number line, it's 6 units away from 0. So the absolute value of -6 will be 6 because -6 is 6 units away from 0. Let's move on to the next example. Now let's locate 4 on the number line and let's count what is the distance away from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. The distance is 4 because 4 is 4 units away from 0. Now that you have grasped the concept, let's solve the next problem. This was problem 2. Let's move on to problem number 3. Problem number 3. What is the absolute value of -12? In other words, how many units is 12 away from 0? Well, -12, the absolute value of -12 will be 12 because 12 is 12 units away from 0. Now, let's look at problem number 4. What is the absolute value of -5? In other words, what is the distance of -5 away from 0? If we go ahead and we use a number line, we can locate 5 over here. Here is -5, and let's count the units away from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, for this problem, the absolute value of -5 is 5. But you see over here, we have a negative symbol or a minus sign. This negative symbol is not included in the absolute value. So what we need to do is transfer this negative over here, and the final answer should be -5 after solving for the absolute value of -5. What about problem number 5? What is the absolute value of 6? Well, let's go ahead and using our number line, let's locate 6 and let's count towards 0. How many units is 6 away from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the absolute value of 6 is 6 because 6 is 6 units away from 0. And once again, this negative sign over here is not included in the absolute value. So what we need to do is transfer this negative sign after solving the absolute value of 6, which now we will end up with the answer of negative 6. Alright, what about problem number 6? So let's find the absolute value of negative open parenthesis negative 2 close parenthesis. So before we start solving for absolute value, let's look inside the absolute value because we have a negative sign here and we have this constant inside parenthesis. So we need to solve this first. We need to distribute. Negative times a negative will give you positive. So we will end up with positive 2, the absolute value of positive 2. Now, we need to find the absolute value of positive 2. The absolute value of positive 2 is 2 because 2 is 2 units away from 0. But over here, we have this negative symbol because and this negative symbol is not included in the absolute value. So our final answer for this should be negative 2. Alright, and there you have it. This is how you find the absolute value of a number. Let me know down in the comments if this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks for watching.